Welcome to Hacking Business Technology, the only ITSM podcast broadcast directly to the internet.
Live.
Live. I think they're all published to the internet. Is there another publishing plan? No, we're the only non-print podcast, actually. So, we have Mr. Matt Hooper and Mark here, and we have to like do a seance or light some sage on fire for Farah. She's being held prisoner actually at Axelos today.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow. I wonder what that's like.
Yeah, we'll hear about it next week, I'm sure. So I want to introduce a new concept. You know, you guys can get on board with this, so you can say it's stupid or whatever. But I think we should do a hack of the week, like one little tip that you're doing that makes yourself more productive or easier or something. So mine this week is I use a little tool called it's a clipboard saver. So it saves every single thing that I put in my clipboard, and it's called Clippy or something like that.
Okay.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's handy. I mean, if you copy-paste someone's phone number, you need to go look at it again, you can get it again. But the thing is it saves everything.
To Evernote?
It doesn't save it to Evernote. It doesn't store it anywhere because I think they were worried about security because a lot of people end up copying passwords from like 1Password and that kind of thing.
Yeah. I think probably the thing I use the most that helps me is screenshots from my phone getting sent to Evernote. That's
Sketch for it?
That saves me a huge amount of time.
So do you use if this then that as a channel?
Yeah, I think. I'm sure I do. It's been so long since I set it up, but anything I take as a screenshot, and it's only screenshots, it's not regular pictures. It gets sent to Evernote, and then of course Evernote reads the words even within the picture, and I can do searches on it and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's extremely hard if you're having like a texting conversation with someone and you just want to remember what was said, or you have something on your Facebook page on your phone and you want to make sure that you remember that, have that to refer to. It's a very, very handy tool.
So you have to explain how you have that set up, because if I screenshot on my phone,
yeah,
it goes to my your cloud? You have iCloud?
Actually, I remember what it is now. It's the IFTTT local client on the phone. So the app for IFTTT hooks into the iPhone features, and I think they have it for Android now as well. So it can detect if it's a screenshot versus a regular picture, and then you just shoot it over to Evernote from IFTTT.
Ah, very slick.
Yeah, there's a couple. You could do that with Sketch too, and then there's a couple services that do both that, and then the same thing as mine with the clipboard. Did my screen go dark? This is like when you try to copy a VHS to another VHS, it gets really dark.
What are you saying? Is that not really you?
No, it's funny. The sun is.
Is this live or is this Memorex? That's what I want to know.
But yeah, this podcast brought to you by Memorex. Or what is the other one? I don't even remember. Oh, I'm thinking of Betamax. That's what I'm thinking of. So, what's your hack of the week?
So I use a lot of tools, but I think one of the best tools that I've been hooked onto for a little while is Expensify for my expenses. That's a big one for me because I'm a road warrior. So the app's taking snapshots of your receipts, automatically OCRs it, puts it in categories. I can take a receipt and I can just email it to receipts at Expensify, and I've already got all my emails registered so it knows who I am, what my account is. I can just put the label at the top and it knows how to classify it. So it's pretty good. It's a pretty good product. I'm really impressed with it so far.
Nice.
I also have a new shirt. If I can demonstrate my shirt, it has some sort of beaver or something with an axe. And I thought it's a good logo type thing for hacking business technology. It's like bring your own axe, right? The other beavers probably are really disturbed that he's using this technology. When
you're done cutting your teeth, use your axe.
That's awesome. I can think like a wrench grinder would be really handy with that axe. Get it nice and sharp. Actually, that is cool. I think we could do that. Let's try to commission something like that.
Okay. Awesome.
A beaver with an axe. So I did actually review. I was watching one of our previous podcasts. Someone actually tweeted it today. I think it was Ryan Ogilvy. He tweeted the one where we were talking about BNC and Source Down. You should watch that episode if you haven't, because it actually is pretty funny, especially at the beginning. I don't know what I was into that day, but it was a good day. It's the coffee. I love this coffee. So I went back and we talked about Daniel Billing and Earl Begley doing a podcast, and I hadn't heard about it, and I was embarrassed because those two gentlemen are actually two gentlemen I have a huge amount of respect for, and we've been friends for a long time, so I should have known about it. Right away, I found the ITAM Review podcast. I hadn't seen that one. I guess the ITSM Review site is doing one. The most recent episode is all about IBM licensing.
IBM licensing. In what regard? I mean, like all of IBM licensing?
You know, I got about, I'd say, 2 minutes into what IBM licensing is.
Hey, now, the thing is, if you care about ITAM, you really care about ITAM.
You do.
Yeah.
And they had an expert on. This guy had been doing consulting for IBM's. He built their audit system for crying out loud. So they had a good guest on.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on.
Well, the reconciliation stuff is what's got ITAM so hot right now, right? You have all these audits happening and people dishing out millions of dollars, and they said, wow, if there was only a way that I could manage my software license and reclaim some of those things, that I could save money. Which, again, goes back to the simple thing at the end of the day, it's always about cha-ching. Right?
Yeah. And you got to balance the cha-ching with your market demand, because if no one wants your stuff, you shouldn't be charging an arm and a leg for it. I think there are a lot of vendors in the industry who could use that sort of information and take action with it.
So here's the big question: is how do you think software asset management and hardware asset management are going to be affected by the HP split?
Okay, so describe to me the HP split. I saw the headline and I didn't even read it. That's how.
So they're making two companies.
Yeah.
So in their one is got the one is HP Inc. Haha. And it's more about the.
That's how they make most of their money, anyways, right?
The printer ink and whatnot, and then the other one is more the software and the enterprise services. The whole who did they buy? EDS, somebody. Mm-hmm. So I found that split to be fairly logical because printers for the most part are very consumer centric. There is obviously a very large demand for enterprise level HP, but I would say most corporations aren't printing nearly like they were in the past. The high demand of their ink, I would say, comes from the home. I'm assuming. I don't know.
Wouldn't you think that that's declining as well, though? I almost never print at home anymore.
Well, yeah, it definitely is probably declining. But if you look at it from a sales perspective, and I try to always do it, right? Because I always say follow the money, follow the salespeople. The sales cycle is you don't have a HP sales rep selling into IT for the printers and for the ink. That's direct. That is commodity direct procurement purchase, right? There's a corporate buyer who's doing that. Whereas on the services side and the software side, for whether you're buying Quick Test Pro and Quality Center, Mercury Interactive old products, or HP OpenView, or who did they buy? Blade Logic, or they bought one of those, Opsware, I think it was. That's obviously a very IT-centric buy, right? So completely different sales force. And then from there else, everything is all, hey, I'm sales, I want a delivery channel that supports me, and I want a marketing channel that supports me.
It also could be that they're trying to set up for the future, and HP Inc. could become huge if they get in really well with 3D printing.
Yes, absolutely. Good point.
Yeah, they released a recycler this week, actually, a consumer-grade 3D printing recycler now. So you take your models and shreds them up and melt it down, and you've got your medium back.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty awesome.
That is bizarre.
Careful when you think polymers, children, because they make explosives, believe it or not.
So, like, if you print a 3D toothbrush and the little blue line goes down too far, you just shred it and make it again?
Cracked iPhone case. Brand new one.
Ooh!
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
My daughter, who just got engaged, her fiance, thank you, I think, runs the 3D printing for R&D for Reebok.
So yeah,
Nice.
congratulations then.
So I love hearing how much demand there's going to be for 3D printing in the future.
Cha-ching.
You know who I'm going to live with, Carlos.
That'd be really cool. I would love to see, rapid prototyping. I mean, that's the way. That's everything now. That's everything you can do is rapid prototyping. I found that everything that I do, I don't want, even on a Word doc, I don't want someone to review the whole thing and give me a bunch of comments and word notes. Do it a paragraph at a time, and you're writing it and I'm writing it, and I want 7,000 revisions.
Remember Google had that Daryl Hall and John Oates commercial? Does anybody actually use that feature from Google Docs?
I do. I use it with, thankfully, we can use it for our internal stuff at Maryville. Thank goodness. So when we're doing like product development or even just brainstorming stuff, I almost always start a Google Doc because it is so nice. It has this feature now. Okay, so a couple of things that I found out this week. Number one, Google Docs has a feature now that allows threaded conversations a la Facebook. So if someone selects some text and makes a comment, it becomes a thread in the overall doc, and you can reply and you can resolve.
Oh, really?
On the doc. I love it. And it timestamps to resolve, and it says who does it. Okay, here is something that is huge, though, and I'm sure that people haven't heard of it, because who goes to Dropbox.com to view their files? Nobody. It's always synced on your computer. But if you go to a shared folder on Dropbox now, you can name them one. You can set a specific password for that folder, and you can set an expiration date for the link that you're sharing.
It's about time Dropbox was becoming irrelevant because of that feature. You realize that, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So what do you think? So Baron, is your future that like there's not going to be any more service desks in the future, that Google Apps will just Google Apps and IFTTT, and that's going to be the future of knowledge management, incident management, resolution?
You know, I am a naive optimist, and and when I look at my ticket history, we use I think our system is OCRS or something like that, some four-letter acronym.
OTRS?
Yeah, OTRS. When I look at my tickets in there, the only tickets that I have are questions about either restrictions that IT has put in place or systems that I don't control, like WebEx, the phone system, for example. And frankly, I know that I can do it better and cheaper than them, and in some cases I would rather absorb the cost from the business and the risk from the business in some cases. And so I think it works in some cases. It definitely doesn't work in huge organizations where talent totally sucks. Like, people are just irrelevant, or they're talented in other places, like your 3D printing guy from Reebok. Let's hope that he's a materials expert and a machinist, because that thing's going to break every day. And he should be able, that's CNC machining is kind of where it all came from, so he's probably familiar with that whole thing. But, and so his excellence may not be in IT, so you always need that function. I think it's just better served as crowdsourced with the individual employees. I have so many people that IM me and ask me questions about how I use tech at Maryville because they see me being productive and effective.
Yeah.
No, his skill, actually, you bring it up, his skill is actually more in being an artist and a problem solver. So it has nothing to do, because the equipment's under maintenance,
Yes.
so that gets fixed. But the problem is that the designers will give him something that isn't physically possible, and then his creative and artist skills come in to actually then make it from a pencil drawing 2D wish list to a 3D workable solution. And that's his value.
That's awesome.
Fun.
Yeah.
That sounds really fun. That's basically what I've turned my job into now. I spent most of today drawing superheroes.
Yeah.
That represent superheroes in IT.
Yeah, you support this nebulous conceptual product. It's Maryville Consulting Services. And what does that mean? What do we do? What do you do here? I don't know. We help organizations. That doesn't sell. But when you can show them how you can improve and mature and work through it, and then that's real value add. You see, Baron, you do add value.
Oh, yes. I definitely think, though, as an industry, when it comes to community knowledge, we haven't pushed it hard enough. We haven't explored enough. I mean, society itself, in its involvement with the internet, is kind of evolving in the way communities interact and what their function is, and that informs IT and how we utilize those methods or techniques. But I just think it's inevitable. We're moving in that direction. I mean, if you're not thinking about knowledge in terms of community, then you'd better.
People go where the value is, and like they're the consumers, so they go where the value. Like for instance, the ServiceNow Google Plus group has reached, I think it's at 650 members now, and it's mostly people who use ServiceNow on a regular basis. And that kind of brings me to Bitpodium, which is another.
As opposed to the ServiceNow LinkedIn group, which is just full of recruiters.
Full of recruiters, yes. And actually, we actively kicked out recruiting out of the ServiceNow community. And what happens is the community members actually mark this stuff as spam, and the moderators just going through and say, yeah, it's all spam. And then we send them, hey, there's this recruiting community over here where no one pays attention. You can go ahead and spam over there.
Okay. So Bitpodium.
Well. So Bitpodium, they actually had a podcast about knowledge management. It was the one with actually it seems like they've got some common people. Simone Jo Moore is definitely one of them. I did that. I feel like that's what Chris would have done, so I feel like I needed to. Plus, I love Simone. She's fantastic.
Yay, Simone.
And now that she speaks fluent French, I could just listen to that forever. Earl Bagley was on a couple times. Daniel Billings on just about every time. He's always wearing a suit. He looks so pro. Way to go, Daniel. They had Tristan Boot on a couple times. Ale Roos has been on a couple times. Dr. Van Herpen, who I've never actually talked to. Do you know who Dr. Van Herpen is?
I know who he is. Yeah.
I didn't get his bio. I think he might be one of the writers. But
I didn't know he was a doctor, but
at least I think it's Dr. Van Herpen. I don't know.
Say the name again.
Matt Lawrence. But in any case, they had an episode that was about knowledge. They basically came to the same conclusion that when we started the social trend, people just thought about it like another way to do phones. Just another input system. And knowledge, we kind of think about it as, that's just our knowledge. That's not everyone's knowledge. And I think you bring up a valid point. That is really where a lot of the value lies. I use this thing called Trello, where it's Kanban style. I'm working on everything in this column over here. Here's my to-do list. Here's all the stuff that I got done before. And it auto-populates a Google Doc or a Google Calendar for me that says what I was working on and when. Why can't I do that with our time management system? I should just be able to feed that data in there and say, this is when this goes in, send the customer an invoice automatically at the end of the month.
You obviously can.
Yeah.
You obviously can. But it's not a technical issue. The question isn't how come, it's why. Why can't you?
Yeah. And I think everything should be community-based. Even development can be community-based. I mean, if you have different configurations or different stylings of a UI or whatever, and you let everyone do their own thing with it, that should inform how the default UI is presented to new users. That should evolve over time. Things like that. I mean, lots of community input into the way things are designed as well.
You know, it's funny, we use the expression tribal knowledge like it's a bad thing, but actually tribes make and create the greatest knowledge.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's so true. And what you get out of it is, there's so many benefits, so many intangible, like unquantifiable benefits, like cross-training, just getting on a team and like hacking together a process, doing business process consulting, like on your own because you've worked there forever. You end up seeing things from a different angle. You see it from the app dev side, or you see it from the hosting side, or the compute side, or whatever. And I think that is where that's what I think is fun, is when you get to learn new things because of that stuff. And I think that is sort of where the shift needs to come in IT talent. We need to stop being hands on keyboard, stop. and this is the really hard thing for me to always do, is stop going straight to the tool. You heard it right at the beginning of the podcast. I was like, oh, this new tool, blah, 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 blah. You got to stop doing that and start becoming a good advisor to the business, a good consultant, listens for a long time, throws around some ideas, and then, just hack it together. And I think you brought up a good point, Matt. It's not about that it should. It's that it obviously can. I need to ask why. The problem is that I know why, and it's a holy war.
Yeah.
It's always a holy war.
It's one of these things. I don't invest a lot in hacking with tools because in my 20 plus years of being in IT, I have gotten so excited about the potential of a tool only to get to the realization phase that the tool was so inept. It did not actually accomplish what I was ultimately looking for.
You've been abused.
Yeah. So I approach things, a little bit more in a simplistic fashion, like collaboration tools, for instance. I'm just like a Google Drive user, and I'm back to the folder shares and naming conventions because at the end of the day, it's searchable. You can add meta content to it. That's what I love about Box. Box is great like that. It can give me views, it can give me apps I can plug into the data. But at the end of the day, it's just a folder structure, and it's always there if I jump on a plane or wherever I go. And I can get on my mobile devices and have what I need when I'm looking for it.
Let me ask you this: does it have selective mobile sync so you can download stuff to your phone? Can you say I want this folder on my phone at all times?
Yeah.
Yes, even to the file level.
Yeah, I do that. I do that with my workout routine because I can't get signal, so I have that one offline and I can look at it when I work out.
Yeah.
That's the business use case. I'm going to spend $2 million on this based on you working out.
You know what? It keeps the healthcare costs down at Emory, though, so it's very, very important.
I work out all the time, and I have a little bump right here on my shoulder, a little tiny bump. That's what I get from it.
That's funny. That's how they quantify it. It just gets bigger back here.
That's why he works next to the CDC, because those pythons are sick, baby.
Nice. Nice. Hey, Fruit DevCon was this week. If you got down there, good for you. I want to know who won the hackathon. I really didn't pay that much attention to it because they didn't have Shane speaking. They didn't have Shane Carlson as a speaker there.
What?
They just hired this guy, and he's obviously brilliant. I love Shane.
He's been over there, yeah. He's a phenomenal speaker. I was paying attention a little bit on Twitter, not really anyplace else. I thought the pictures were great. Christina Sinopoli, she's hands down becoming one of the best ITSM marketing resources in this industry. She's just, frankly, Mark Toledo, she's keeping you alive. Just saying.
It's true.
Yeah. No, it's great. The whole concept is a good idea. And you know what I love about that, too, is they truly were, it was open to everybody. Yeah. Any one of Fruition's competitors was more than welcome to come in, present to speak, be there, participate, join the hackathon. And that, to me, is just, that's classy. So
it is. Yeah, they invited me to speak, actually, twice.
Yeah, they should have.
Yeah.
So good on them.
I wanted to say yes.
and I have to say, too, I think I've said this before, but I just cannot get enough of Joe the IT guy in SysAid's marketing.
Mm-hmm.
These guys are doing such a great job. Did you guys see the video of him jumping out of the plane where he railed on ITSMF Fusion of like, why would I want to go there? I don't want to jump out of a plane because that's all they have on their website for the whole conference is people parachuting.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's fantastic. For an Israeli company, too.
You would never know it.
Well, they have some dark humor. If you've seen, I pay attention to their marketing stuff because I think it's hilarious. There's some edgy stuff in there, though. They did like this crazy gun thing. Oh my gosh, it's kind of scary, actually.
Well, you have to understand that Israel is really the Silicon Valley of Europe.
Yeah.
So many startups come up out of there, especially in the security space.
Mm-hmm.
The Israeli intelligence agency is a phenomenal organization. the disciplines a lot of these folks carry. But Mercury Interactive, we mentioned them earlier, that was purchased by HP. Hands down one of the most successful IPO startup, enterprise software companies. One of the big ones, anyways, Israeli company. They really do an amazing job with their technology, STEM focus. And when I was at Mass Challenge, we had a lot of Israeli companies participating in Mass Challenge. We actually would, do a remote Mass Challenge from Israel. And there's a Boston-Israel relationship, obviously, too, from a financial perspective. It's impressive.
I think I want to attend a free workshop. What does that say behind you? Free workshop, ITSM quiz? Oh, good. Please tell us the questions on the ITSM quiz. What is an incident?
Yes, what is an incident? What is the difference between an incident and a problem?
Is a password reset a service request? Do you like my skeptical voice?
Email a business service or an IT service?
Yeah, and that's, you need that stuff. You need the CMDB so that when Mark goes back and says, hey, I'm not getting my Evernote screenshots anymore. What's going on? I need to go to the service component.
I can't remember which pounds I lifted last.
I use Evernote for everything. 10 minutes ago, what did I think?
Oh, that would be nice. I would pay big money for that. People checking into Evernote from their basement. They're like, what did I come down here for? Oh, yeah, the eggs. Oh, no.
Speaking of the Middle East, did you guys see the what is it? Iranian young and rich Instagram account?
No.
It's been kind of a big topic this week where there's this hashtag in Instagram where different young and wealthy Iranians are kind of living it up and sharing it on Instagram, and it's causing quite a stir on whether they're behaving correctly according to the moral and legal situation over there. And I find it interesting though, just because it is, again, technology shaping society and politics and global conversations. I mean, it's a bigger example of what can happen even within corporations or in the workplace that I think is exciting when you think about using existing tools for other hacking purposes,
It's the acceleration of information.
Yes.
I mean, information has always shaped culture. Just pick the Bible. But
yeah.
It's the acceleration of it. I think that.
Right, and breaking down walls that were there before. I mean, these people obviously have always been living this way, but no one knew, and now everyone's talking about it, and that has huge impact.
But does it go too far? Like the situation that just was it this morning or last night of an African American that was shot by a white police officer who was off duty. I heard this morning there was outrage, and yet they didn't really even have all the facts about what had happened yet. Just so quickly information can get out of control, whether it's true or accurate or not accurate.
It goes back to what Chris used to say, that any knowledge is better than no knowledge. Even if it's wrong at first, the community will correct it over time. So you start with what you have, and then you make sure it gets corrected, and the community is responsible for doing that.
Yeah, and I think I might have disagreed with him on it, because I definitely still disagree with him now. If I yell fire in a stadium, and it's the wrong, knowledge to share with everybody, and someone gets killed as they trample on each other running out, that.
It's dangerous. It is dangerous.
Yeah. It's responsibility still. There has to be responsibility. I would say misinformation is fine as long as it doesn't have malice, right? I think that's where you have to get to the point of.
And I think that's a big topic now, that society is learning a new moral code when it comes to how to handle information. I mean, news organizations had to learn that recently, with their access to information. And we as individuals have to learn it as well.
And be good consumers. The Jennifer Lawrence thing, she said, this isn't, my phone didn't get hacked. This is a sex crime or something to that effect. I think that is just perfect. labeling these things as they are, that seems to be the most effective. And if don't try not to get to the point of judgment. We're always so quick to judge, and
Well, yeah, I mean, because that was, people's initial reaction was, well, don't do stupid stuff with your phone. No, that's not cool. You can't say that. This is you have the freedoms to do what you want, and you should expect security. And so, I mean, she did nothing wrong. It was a crime against her.
Or how about don't expect security and live with your consequences? How about take some personal accountability?
Yeah. Okay.
I think it's in both cases. I think it's a two-way street.
Well, here, let me break a simple rule down to you. When you take a picture, it's possible for people to see it.
Yes.
Just kind of how it works.
Well.
Yeah, that's true. And you can never really trust a picture, actually.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, that you could say that about anything, though. When you open the
you could
door.
take a Polaroid and put it in your drawer. But then if someone came into your house and stole it, hello, you took a picture.
Right.
So, no. I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think, someone commented that we talked a lot about privacy earlier. I think that was 2 podcasts ago. And someone said that it shouldn't be privacy. You should just be saying security. And I think that's becoming more true. If it's about data, we need to call it security. And if it's about privacy, we need to be talking about people's actions.
No.
Because if you don't store your bank account stuff online, less people are gonna see it unless they rob your house or whatever. And so I think that's actionable advice, Matt. So I guess that is how you hack business technology: print off the ledger and bring it home instead of putting it on box.net.
Exactly.
All right, we'll see you guys next week. Have a good one.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.